This episode sponsored by The Bomb Box. When someone you love is going through cancer, you want to do more than send flowers. You want to truly help. That's why there's The Bomb Box. Founded by 6-time cancer survivor Liz Bendit, The Bomb Box creates thoughtfully curated care packages filled with premium, practical tools designed specifically for surgery, chemo, and recovery. Every item is chosen based on insights from more than 500 patients and caregivers, because during treatment, the smallest comforts can make the biggest difference. Don't just send a gift, send real support. Visit thebombbox.com today and get free shipping on orders over $50. That's TheBalmbox.com.
Hello and welcome to IMP's AEW Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Help the network out by leaving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through Ed Circle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. A link is in the description. Read the Social Suplex newsletter. Shout out to Trish and Tim as always, and to every person who has contributed so far. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network: One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, Sam Brown's AEW Match Guide, and Joshing Around. My name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and this is your quick look back at the AEW week that was. 30 minutes of an English guy talking about the All Elite Wrestling, whilst in my mind all I'm thinking about is how my Nottingham Forest are going to be playing in a European Cup final on Thursday. That's just not a thing. That's the thing for the big teams. But for all of my life, apart from the past 3 years, my team weren't even in the top division. Now we're in Europe in a semi-final. What's going on? I mean, it's not the most exotic trip to Birmingham, but you know, it's still a European semi-final. I mean, I'm also assuming that where AEW Dynamite was this week is also not seen as an extravagant, exotic destination of Portland, Oregon, where we had been promised some MJF, some Brody King, Will Ospreay, Mark Davies, and the main event of Darby Allin, Tomasso Ciampa. Collision was a playoff sports special thing. Playoff for what sport? I don't know. I'm not American. You have too many sports for me to know which one it is. Time of the year wise, possibly the basketball. Like, in terms of American sports, you have to put in the effort to keep up with this stuff if you're in my country, because it's not like on normal TV. Little things like it might be on Sky Sports, but the football's taking precedent. But anyway, let's jump right into it. I want to say this was a normal Dynamite, but the main event and the level of quality of the main event meant that this is definitely not a normal Dynamite. And it makes the second week in a row since WrestleMania, but it's not really true. Since AEW's last pay-per-view, they've just been on a roll. It feels like we've had a great Dynamite every single week since, and this marks 3 for 3. So one hell of a roll that AEW are on at the moment. And obviously they've been putting on good Dynamites beforehand, but this feels like it's been 3 solid shows without a weak point in a row. For me, that's pretty special for me. And this feels like it is going to be like a much shorter week, but I am going to be glowing about a lot of what I'm talking about. So get ready. Get ready for me to be chipper-chappy. I don't know how much I'm going to be critiquing this week. Last week I had a few complaints. This week I feel like I'm mostly positive. So anyway, let's have a little listen to the sound clip and then I'll get on with it.
Well, the TNT title has rather an ignominious history when it comes to open challenges. Oh, wait a second. Oh, no. One born every minute.
You're gonna dance with the devil next week, kid.
So, Angry Maxwell stormed out all bitter in his ring gear, absolutely not accepting the loss at all. He's the best wrestler in the world. Darby only took advantage after his match with Kenny Omega. He doesn't give a shit about tonight's main event. He's demanding Darby gives him the championship back. When out came a different champion, the TNT champion, different city, same old Max, coming out whining like a little bitch. I do like getting more mic time with Kevin. I explained it last week as being like it's good for both him as a performer and us as a viewer, where he gets better at it and we get more invested in his character by just giving him little mic time stuff like this. It's this type of thing that's going to get us invested in him in long term. Max played his "you're an easy dub for me, you have a ceiling and will never be world champion" card, continuing to test how we are feeling about young Kevin as a potential future top lad as MJF does his line, and then you leave it a bit. How did the crowd react? Positively, super positively there. He doesn't have like a really in-depth character at the moment, but it feels like he as a performer they are getting behind. Knight laid out the challenge for an impromptu match, looking to have successfully amped the man up into a TNT title match, and they're all both in their corners, they're all going to set to go, let's do it right now. Only for Friedman to have learnt from his lesson last week, where he got displayed yet again that Max doesn't win when he's not prepared. So he just rolled out the ring and told us, nah, next week, because he's going to go and prepare. He's going to be ready for that match with Kevin Knight. You know, just seeing characters learn from their things and the wins and losses actually matter, and changing how they then react to the next thing is like, yes, it's good writing. And whatever direction this is for Max, I'm already really liking the fact that there seems to be something immediately. And the way that he lost that title has directly impacted how he's reacting right now. It wasn't just like like a loss and then he's doing typical heel stuff to do it. No, the exact manner in which he lost is now causing him to react differently to this next situation with Kevin Knight. And I feel like in terms of like what's the main notes going to be for MJF going forward, we'll get a little inkling for what his character's destined for when we have the match with Kevin Knight, because we might possibly be getting a wee little title match. We'll talk about it when we get to the main event, because there's a little segment to kind of dive into it at that point. So quickly onto the other notes. This was just a little tease to set up a match happening next week between the two for the title, but the main character note I want to talk about really becomes relevant when it's a segment before the main event. So onto the other notes. Speaking of setting things up, Renee was with The Demand and Jericho backstage, where they announced we were set to get a 6-man on Collision. Jericho made a point that he doesn't need to find friends. He just needed to find people who don't like Ricochet. And then later in the show, Jericho and Renee were stood outside the locker room. Oh look, here they are now. And out walked Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley and MVP. 3 people who very much don't like Ricochet. Also had a little chuckle because who's going to be willing to work with the Hurt Syndicate? Are we going to see like a slightly different vibe to them since they come back? Immediately working with The Demand again. I was just like, God, is there really that few people who want to work with them? As soon as they come back, they're with the same people again. Tomasso Ciampa gave an interview with Renee while sat on a chair like one would perch on a toilet, with the framing of the camera maybe a tad too low. Like, come on now, don't be having the man's crotch in that middle gradient, the middle section of the framing. The seriousness of Ciampa's promo was a little lost, given the shot just made him feel so naked. There's certain things with wrestlers where not wearing knee pads can make you feel incredibly naked. Just wearing your title belt a little bit too low so it hangs over your trunks. Just little things like that. But also, it turns out if you're doing a serious promo on a chair, maybe make sure it's zoomed in. I get they wanted to have Renee in frame as well. She's bent over at the waist just to hold the microphone there. But to be able to fit her in the frame as well, Ciampa feels incredibly naked, and it means that the framing of where Ciampa is in there is that your eye line, when you go from Renee to him, you're just looking at his crotch. This is quite a nerdy reaction to it. Quite a silly thing. He felt incredibly naked. Part of the reason is eye line direction. I go from one to the other, and I'm going to be looking at penis. It's just like, you're meant to be giving a serious promo here, Ciampa. It's alright, the main event was amazing. But still, in that moment, that made me laugh. Cope suggested getting another shot at FTR by him and Christian, putting their run as a team on the line. And we got FTR's reaction to Serious Adam on Collision. Alex Windsor backstage with Renee. Persephone stepped in, and for me, for this segment, the sound levels were kind of just a bit wrong with the crowd too loud, so I didn't hear most of what the CMLL Women's Champion said. At least I got her saying, "We'll beat the piss out of you" in Spanish. So that's like, oh, okay, they're doing a tag team thing. I missed most of her lines, but it's fine, whatever. And now onto the show in order. Brody King versus Leo Rush. Oh, the spooky little jumpy Gollum boy. Oh, he's back. He's going to get you. A little lovely dance with the violent tattooed man, and his entrance graphic let us know that Brody was on a 6-match winning streak. I wonder why that's relevant to display. I'm sure that's just a nice little stat, isn't it? I'm sure it's not super relevant to this show in particular. Fuck Ice as Brody dragged Leo out of the corner. Fair to say, what freaked Pac and Garcia out on Collision was not going to have the same effect on Brody King. The man was in a spooky stable. You can't get him like that, Leo. He knows all of the tricks. It's not going to work on him. King's charge at the barricade did fail, though, letting Leo get all jump and, oh, I'm going to get you, yes I am. Back from break with a freshly hydrated Brody. That pre-dive kitty gallop from Leo got a great reaction again. That bit of his attitude especially over. Back in the ring, frog splash to Brody's back, only got a 1 count. Big black hole slam, cannonball charge, gonzo bomb for the win. And in similar echoes to last week with people say that they're going to be keeping an eye on the main title match, Brody did the same thing here, grabbing the mic, letting us know he was going to have his eye on the main event. And I like this, adds both importance to that and gives direction to these guys. It makes the main event always, and the title, just feel so much more important that the other wrestlers are like, yeah, I got a win tonight, and I'm keeping my eye on that title. It's a little touch. Obviously, don't do it every week, but I feel like for this Derby reign, it makes sense to every single week just have somebody else loaded on the cycle. For whatever's coming next, there's always that next thing. Because it makes sense. What we get here tonight then sets up what we get next week. Constant carousel where that next week is always set up, so Darby can just have this rapid reign with so many defenses, and then he just gets weakened and weakened. Hikaru Shida versus Mina Shirakawa. A character direction for Shida. Yay! Been really enjoying her work since she's come back. Sure, it could just be the fact that she's got a character, and I'm feeling that. And I'm just like, oh, not only is Shida back, she's got a direction. She's not just back as good wrestler. They're actually using her. So maybe that novelty will wear off eventually, but right now it's just nice to be enjoying her work. Mina let us know she found Shida's kendo stick at Tony Storm's murder scene, so immediately didn't trust a woman acting all happy pally with big stat. A character direction for Mina. Yay! She's not just Tony Storm's friend who's all angry. That essentially is her character, but they've given actually something of substance for her to bite into. After the break, ringside fun times for Mina instead ended in disaster. Whipped into the steps and then sat down onto her head on the apron apron. Meteora kick out. Tamashi knee also kicked out. Portland all happy clapping with both down after a Mina spinning back fist. Sling Blade off the top gave Shida her turn to kick out. Mina lost her cool and grabbed the kendo stick when Stat stopped her, accidentally causing the distraction. Running knee, Falcon Arrow, and Shida wins in baddie fashion. This is the type of finish that I'll always see some negativity online because it's like, oh, another screwy finish. But it's only that if you're watching WWE. We don't get this all the time over here at AEW, so I'm okay with it. It's when I still believe in the writing critique way of there is no such thing as thing equals bad. It's just thing done badly or thing done too often. And in WWE, it's both, essentially. This kind of finish happens so often over there that if you're watching both promotions and you see it in AEW, you have that instant reaction. Because I remember I used to get it when I watch AEW and I see a screwy finish, like, oh, another screwy finish. But they don't do them that often in AEW. And I like what this is doing for Shida's character, where we are seeing a little bit of a pull of, is Stat going to go with Shida or not? Where she didn't do this on purpose, but did cause the screwy finish. So now that Shida's starting to embrace that a bit more openly, Stat has an open decision to make. Like, does she go with it or not? Like, all because Mina said she did the thing, does that mean that Chris automatically finds it a bad thing? Chris's title reign had her having a lot of respect for Tony, so it makes sense in that continuity. But also, nothing's been going for Stat for months. She's almost a nothing character, so she would see herself as maybe fallen, just like us as viewers have kind of seen it. Like, her stock has fallen so much that maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to go with what Shida's throwing out there. It does mean that Stat is getting close to Big Show levels of like back and forth. Like, the face heel, like it's happening quite a lot. It feels like whenever she settles on a character and it starts to work, that character changes. I don't really think she's been any particular character for super long. Like, maybe Best Friend Stat is like the longest version of a Stat character that we've actually had. Anyway, on to an incredible match. Will Ospreay versus Mark Davies. William Billiam continued to have big vessels in spite of not being recovered from his 30 times. Excalibur phrased it as, he's been barely cleared for tonight. Big Dunk wasted no time just barreling around ringside so he could get up close to the Essex man's Canasio taped neck. Don Callis had a good horsey laugh after one of Davies' big chops had Will roll to the outside to catch his breath. Out to the ramp, and a jumpy Will front flipped off it to send us into our ad break. Back from said break with an awesome looking stuck upside down in the corner Tree of Woe reverse neck breaker to poor William. Davies very much zoning in on that neck, as will every one of his opponents for months. He's had neck surgery, and this is pro wrestling. This is just what's going to happen. Sat on the rope, Will took a chop that got an even louder reaction. Worked like a charm as Portland chanted for Ospreay, trying to amp him back up. And unsurprisingly, our first This Is Awesome of the night. Like, Ospreay and the Bucks just get them almost automatically by just entering a flow. Oz cut a nay, instead a series of backdrop suplexes, dropping the man high onto said back. Hidden Blade jumped out of nowhere, but the man was too knackered, and such a great hoist up into a Davies piledriver. Ospreay just getting his foot on the ropes, sending Callis irate. A second piledriver sat down, this time on the apron, and Ospreay sold his neck, all serious, with a medicine man called on over and all, and it felt like a very similar beat to his match with Mox. But this time, the medicine man said no. Winner by forfeit, the best kind of winner, Mark Davies. And it's an echo of the same story that Ospreay was telling against Mox, where the match was pretty much over when he did take that out the ring piledriver, because Mox just stomped him, and then we got the paradigm shift, and that was that. Whilst here, the actual piledriver itself was, nope, same here. So it's a very similar feeling beat, which is important because then Mox comes in and is just like, you're still thinking with emotion when you could be incredible. But of course, they show that thought that Mox has is in an interesting way. That's part of the Mox character, is that, yeah, he does have a good thought which could maybe help somebody, but the way he goes about it, the way that he does it, because not everybody would then just kidnap the person and take him to a weird warehouse to have a talk with them. That's not the normal way to do this, John. That's not the normal way to do this. At first, he felt like we might be getting some form of save with Davies dragged Ospreay back into the ring with another gut wrench piledriver teased, but Marina Shafir was up on the apron, Mox in the ring, and then the rest of the Death Riders stared down and a loud "you fucked up" chant for Davies, who just ultimately slinked away. But then the segment ended with the Death Boys taking Will away, then onto Claudio's safe and secure shoulders to be taken away through the crowd to a weird warehouse for a segment on Collision. John's heart is in the right place. Papa John is like, he's gonna help out. His heart is in the right place. But then he is kidnapping people after the matches, taking them through the crowd to then have a little talk with them. There's better ways you can do this, John. You don't have to be so weird about it. But then a lovely little cheer. The emotions just felt in this little 5-minute period of a great sell with the piledriver on the apron, and then the medicine man saying no, he can't continue. I love that continuation for the story, for Will Ospreay, for what it does for Mark Davies as well. Then you get the whole Death Rider stuff coming out, the crowd start chanting "you fucked up" and "holy shit" and stuff like that. They immediately love that. Then the weird feeling of, wait, are they just going to take him away? And then have a little chuckle to myself describing it as Claudio's safe and secure shoulders. But then another emotional flip where suddenly Samoa Joe's face appears on the screen and like, oh, by the way, Joe's back and he's going to have a match immediately. It's like, oh, okay. okay. This is a lot of emotions for that little 5-minute period. What a lovely little surprise. And I noted down the jobber's name for once. Jobber Cody Chun. Amazing. Loved his ring gear and everything. Everything about him was great. And when I say great, I mean perfect for somebody to then get the shit beaten out of him by Samoa Joe. The Joe's gonna kill you chance coming to fruition. Poor Cody Chun got a little moment though. If only they could set up him being on the corner to jump for a crossbody that Joe was just gonna walk out of the way of. Got a lovely cheer. Muscle buster for the win. Nice to have him back. Does that mean an end to the Hook influencer recruitment segments? I hope so. Because on Collision, we got the same with Samoa Joe back, Hook backstage, and Anthony Bones walks in. And I'll talk about it when we get to Collision. But hopefully, no more, hey yo, Shibata, it's me, your boy Hook. Just like, no. Doesn't feel cool at all. I have a cringe feeling whenever I see him now. Anyway, then the main event. Good God. For me, an all-timer quality of main event here for Dynamite. It's to be fair, it's a really strong list of all-timer main events. The AEW Championship, Darby Allin versus Tomasso Ciampa. A wee Shivani introduced promo before the match with your now standard "you deserve it" chant for a new goody champion, and a wee goody "this is for the important people in my life" moment before MJF stormed on out again, telling him to his face, "you don't deserve shit." Darby refused to give Max a rematch. Like, come on Max, don't embarrass yourself. He's clearly taken already for prom. My shadow knows my story. It's me, Tomasso Ciampa. Oh look, here's his date right now. And even gave Max a be jealous kiss on the cheek before walking past him. I love that. Sure, it could be like a kiss of death or whatever, or just to taunt him, but I like the idea of it as be jealous, I'm in the main event for the title match. I just love how they immediately got to Max. And I'm so happy to be getting the level of Ciampa that his time in NXT showed he was capable of, before the far less capable WWE telly show slotted him in as a nothing, no momentum tag act. Teased a quick finish, but still kept up the flash pace, even though they went about 20 minutes, including those pesky ads. Return to Darby getting catapulted up the ring frame and, ow, my face. Set up to Darby on a whim climbing up onto the ring post, with Ciampa sat in waiting on the barricade to crash in through the timekeeper's table. Darbs absolutely nailed the jump. Looked like he landed perfectly on Ciampa, like really impressive, which led to a reminder that this is AEW, and Ciampa emerged all head bleeding, having done one hell of a blade job. The fecker dripping it everywhere, with splatters on the camera, ring mat, ringside mat, all over Darby's back, even down his own chest like a mucky pup. But Jesus, I really enjoyed where the match went after that. The Project Ciampa bump was mental. Big Nige describing it as abhorrent during the ad break, where it was off Brett's rope, looking like they were teasing an apron bump, but instead crashed all the way down to the outside in what looked like an absolute shit to take for both men. Ciampa just clutching his calf, muttered every swear word under the sun. And a great note in the break with Darby not moving at all until he tidily lifted his leg to the ropes to escape the pin. Like I said with Myron Reed last week, don't want to be doing them too often. Like, good God. I mean, my immediate read on it was, on the impact, Ciampa's calf just tightened or something, because that just looked like so painful. It looked horrific to take. Back from break up into a strike exchange, and Old Bloodface was winning out into a series of chops. Into the corner where the turnbuckle had been removed earlier. A wee reminder before entering the final flow. In theory, we then got a great camera spot with Darby sitting up after a stiff knee. If it weren't for, and not the first time tonight, Ciampa's crotch hogging the frame. Like, God damn it. Darby sits up and then he can't see his head because penis. Like, God damn it, Ciampa. Get it out of the way. And proof that Ciampa had studied past Allin. He caught the coffin drop into the choke just like Mox would do. And the charge reversal into the corner sent Darby into the exposed turnbuckle. It wasn't the baddie. Running knee again kicked out of. Project Ciampa knees. And then running knee again and Darby still kicked out. With us getting our first proper note of Darby as champion as we saw his I cannot be killed trait. Showed us how overpowered he is. Honestly, a great trait to display why this man is the champion in spite of his size. Scorpion Deathlock in. Ciampa kept fighting, but Darby wrenched back and wrenched till the man eventually had no option. Blood all over the mat as the crowd applauded on their feet. Respect from Tomasso after, shook their hand and gave the wee man his title. But there was one more note before we went off air as the music died down and Brody King came out with a microphone. One of the men who said they'd be watching followed through and challenged Darby next week. Like, yup, this is already setting up to be that ride to the wheels fall off style of reign, similar to Allin's TNT title run. But the other important note, Darby Allin told MJF, you will only get a shot if you put something up, like something of value. So it could be a very simple situation where you've got Darby Allin, MJF for the title at Double or Nothing. But what does MJF sacrifice? What does he put up? And also we could go past there and it's another show where that happens because MJF doesn't find the thing and somebody else steps ahead of him again. Or when you think MJF is going to step up, that's when Swerve comes back or something. But also he's got a TNT title match next week. So it could just be as simple as Kevin Knight got the title so that they knew that MJF would have something to put up so that Darby Allin would be able to accept the match and become a double champion. So it's a title versus title main event at Double or Nothing. But I also like that as MJF's drive to win the title. Because there is that other question of, well, why would MJF care about the TNT Championship even if he's amped up about it? He's always always been about the world title? And if the answer is, well, because he still is obsessed about the world title and he needs this to get his opportunity, then that works as a character note as well. And I think the main reason I like that is because using that logic, Kevin Knight can still beat him. And then MJF freaks out because that was meant to be his route. That was his drive for the match next week. And I like that because that means the route to Double or Nothing isn't as blatant. Like, it's not as solid as, oh, of course we're going to get Darby Allin and MJF. It's a very strong possibility and all the pieces are set up for it. But it's also all the same pieces you would use just to give a character direction to even do the thing. That doesn't mean it comes off. But in terms of Darby Allin, I really like how his reign's going so far. He's just projecting and telling you this is not going to be a long reign. If he keeps doing this, he's going to keep beating up. These are brutal main event matches. This Darby Allin reign is kind of like, you've got the ball for the moment, but you are going to get your moment of rest soon. So he's just going at it. Like, he's just going at 100 miles an hour, just absolutely brutalising himself. But it's not going to be a long reign. And so far, I'm loving it. It's been a really strong few weeks with Darby Allin's run to the title and Darby Allin's little matches afterwards. Because next week we get Darby Allin, Brody King. They've got quite the history. And just the thought of Darby Allin crumpling after taking the Gonzo bomb. Sure, he'll kick out afterwards, but just imagining it, just Brody King just launching him about. I mean, I've seen this stuff before, but it's a different dynamic with Brody King now being a good guy. Like, in the past matches, he can toss the man about. He's just choked him out because he's little. I've really enjoyed every time these two have been together in some form of thing. So this time in the main event for the title. Anyway, let's jump over to Collision for the Playoff Palooza event. What's being played off? Sports. I'm sure there's some kind of American sports happening. I said earlier, is it basketball sports? Like, there's normally some form of sports happening. They've got different sports, different seasons, right? Let's jump over to Collision. The show started off with FTR responding, but then bled into the AEW Trios Championship of the Conglomeration versus 3 Don Callis family lads. So let's play a clip of the Trios Championship match, but I'm going to start talking about FTR and the way that they responded to Cope's challenge.
Combination.
When you buy LG, you get so much more than just an appliance. You get more done, more cost savings, more peace of mind, and more control. Because LG appliances are designed to do more. Like washers and dryers with AI tech to take out the guesswork, refrigerators that fit in tight spaces and keep food fresher longer, or ranges with precise induction cooking and easy cleanup built in, all with the style you want and reliability you can count on, so you can get more from your home every day. LG Appliances. So much more. Make life easier with LG. See the latest models and savings now at LG.com.
This episode sponsored by The Bomb Box. When someone you love is going through cancer, you want to do more than send flowers. You want to truly help. That's why there's The Bomb Box. Founded by 6-time cancer survivor Liz Bendit, The Bomb Box creates thoughtfully curated care packages filled with premium, practical tools designed specifically for surgery, chemo, and recovery. Every item is chosen based on insights from more than 500 patients and caregivers, because during treatment, the smallest comforts can make the biggest difference. Don't just send a gift, send real support. Visit thebombbox.com today and get free shipping on orders over $50. That's THEBALMBOX.com.
From Strong and O'Reilly and a second orange punch. They're not done. The high-low that time. Point on 1, 2, 3.
So to kick off the show, the Conglomeration were backstage for their 2-camera Collision opening lines. But we were not going through the card today. Instead, the tag team champions strode in and chattered shit, there to be absolute dickheads. And they were the team to open Collision. Last week we had a Cope do his jabber to open the show. This time we got the baddie champions answer to the man's challenge. And Cash wasted no time with just immediately accepting. You didn't need to go that far, but sure, we probably would have said yes if you just asked for the match. Dax a tad more serious in his glasses with a no one wants you here anyway. The team just fully accepted the New York street fight stip as well, but added I quit. No shenanigans, just straight up delivering their message before hot-dogging the crowd as their music played them out. When the AEW Trios champions came on out, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly for their first little title defense and then a little walk pass on the ramp. They faced Andrade El Idolo, Hechicero and Lance Archer. The first title defense for the conglomerates and a good laugh as Cassidy got one over on El Idolo by taking the man's trousers off, where he used the fake kicks to whip the man's belt off before pantsing him to the best high-pitched reaction I've heard at a wrestling show in a while. Just I'm an incredible wrestler, but I'm also a sexy stripper. That gimmick is just so over right now. Like, it feels like there's something for everybody in this Andrade Alidlo bit. Also a good laugh at the corner punches. Kyle, your standard 10. Roddy, rapid fire. And then Cassidy did just one punch to the loudest cheer. And who's the most intelligent worker out of all those lads? A perfect match to energise the crowd back up after they just watched an all-timer Dynamite main event. And through the break, Nige was just talking about how sexy Andrade is. And we got our model selfie spot there too. Pure fun party tag times. Eventually everyone got their shit in. Cassidy started to actually wrestle and the Boo Buddies got fended off. Lance Archer the man to fend for himself in the end. A funny little spot right before it led to the Goodies having that full momentum, where Lance Archer went to double chokeslam both Strong and O'Reilly, and the way it was stopped was Orange Cassidy going, "I'm going to chokeslam you!" It gave the crowd a little reaction, which means Lance Archer has a reaction, and then that's enough of a distraction for Strong and O'Reilly to hit their high and low. After that high and low, they just dumped Cassidy on top of Archer for the pin, and AEW just knows how to make these party tags good fun every time. It's fair to say, if you like party tags, this was a great episode of Collision for you. But first, let's go on to the other notes. A properly filmed What Happened After for Will Ospreay, as I was talking about, where the Death Riders kidnapped him into a weird warehouse. It was filmed with very muted colours, like very serious, as Mox got to deliver his words. Will sat opposite John Moxley on some chairs, as Papa Mox laid all his incentives bare. Off the door in that brick wall Will keeps throwing himself at, the proposal of a chance to turn Ospreay into a weapon. Laid on his front on the ground after sliding a chair to Will, just offering him to take the shot if he wants it. Will grabbed the chair, but then shoved the cameraman away before he could see the decision. I always have a little chuckle when wrestling goes this serious, because nobody in there's a particularly great actor. So it's always that little thing taken away from it a bit. But I appreciated the effort to just at least visually make it feel more serious. So it's not all having to be carried by the wrestlers. Like you get the vibe yourself that this is a more serious thing, which is the way that it's shot. And I do, in theory, like what this does for the Will Ospreay character, because it was shown yet again the cost of him not really focusing in that way. And we'll see what happens when we come back next week. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing their Will Ospreay teasing being evil and then not swinging the chair or swinging it on the riders themselves or something like that. Like, I'm gonna be myself, bruv, or some form of promo thing like that. It's the first thing, you gotta really soak it out. After Statlander's match, the Divine Dominion had a wee promo. The tall women, the ones to give the challenge out to Stat and Shida, with them openly just questioning why they're meant to be afraid of another thrown together tag team. Like, even if they've got momentum, we're like, we're amazing and we're the champions, we're a solid team. They're just thrown together, whatever. Konosuke Takeshita, with the Dynamite background, told Okada he'd happily take his title at Double or Nothing. Then Okada on the Collision set responded saying he's going to beat him. I don't like you. I don't respect you. And out in the open for all of the Don Callis family just to know the level of the beef between these two. Willow, the increasingly worn TBS champion, still standing and offered another open challenge to the locker room. And Samoa Joe backstage walked the hallway with Hook when Anthony Bowens approached shirtless with arms shiny as well, so he's oiled up enough, for the lights of the cameras. Just as you do when you are approaching somebody to ask you if you're going to be in their Super Serious stable. It's wrestling. Don't think about it. And he got his answer. There's no more vacancies in the ops. Looks like we found our man. It's you. Such a tease. Joe is such a tease. And Bowens finally in the group. Even it felt like this was a bit which was going nowhere for a long time, and then it's ended up with him in the group. Best way just to cement this as something that went nowhere and finished nowhere is if next week they turn on Bowens and they announce the actual person in the group. It's just like, yes, this whole thing, and then Bowens just gets moved to the side. Because it does feel like the actual character direction that Bowens was having wasn't really going anywhere. Tony Khan wasn't really feeling the Max Caster thing, so that unfortunately ended up just finishing on an independent show, which just feels super weird. I found that dynamic really entertaining to watch, but it felt like there was never any actual direction for it. Like everything that I have praised AEW for this week, where I'm just seeing that direction for stuff and so much things being set up. But it felt like the Caster Bowens stuff, it would just pop up on Collision, it would just be a bit, and it wasn't like they were super invested in it. It was almost filling time. It's just like, so it never really got to pay off. But at least there's something here for the Bowens character to actually go for. Anyway, I said it would be a show of party tags. We went from one party tag into a bigger one with more men. Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, David Finlay and Clark Connors versus the Young Bucks, Desmond Xavier, Zachary Vent and Myron Reed. The Bucks and the Rascals, opponents last week, flying and kicking together this. The Rascals really feel like AEW have finally got their next generation high-flying, innovative team to pair with the Bucks. Mox and commentary also delight too. The Dogs are real baddie stompers, plus then Clark Connors can take everything. Playing the human crash mat right now, as Big Nice put it. Claudio didn't manage to catch the front flipping Xavier directly into his giant swing, but that did mean it looked like the flying man just bounced right off of his big Swiss muscles. And I found that funny. Myron Reed with that awesome flying cut at the outside again as well. well. Just this time with the Jackson boys there to catch him. Like, he can't be taking that full bump on the regular. Vince in the ring on his lonesome, fended off Utah, but the Dogs took advantage of that and hoisted it up for a flying spear from Connors for the win. And that man took everything. He got the crap beaten out of him for most of this match, but then Connors was the lad to get the win. Good for him. Chris Statlander versus Jobby Jobs Becker, or Bethrika. Right before the match, the E was a 3. Right before the match, Shida and Stat, Harley and Mina were there with Lexi Nair backstage. Hikaru made sad Harley cry by telling her she's not on Stat's level, switched to Japanese to shout at Mina, which let Harley get a little surprised to be the one to shout back in Japanese herself. And the leopard print geared jobber tried to jump, but Stat's too strong for that. The woman did get her kicks in, even an impressive stomp off the top to a rope-draped Chris and leg split cheer on the apron to the crowd. I'm guessing she was a fan of 2016-2017 Carmella, given the similar outfit and even the trainers as well. Sorry, sneakers for the Americans. And the same head trapped in the legs submission as well. Anyway, Stat hoisted her up and Saturday Night Fever for the win. Then a more competitive jobber match to showcase Roosh as he faced Adam Priest. If anything, a decent test just to see how he's getting over. And the reception seemed pretty great here tonight. Priest openly messed with the Bull and got the chest chop battle and a bright red chest in reply. A good reaction to the corner fake out and ad break lead in Tranquilo pose after. Corner dropkick was a return and then clapping to show a job well done. Roosh grabbed the mic after. Remember, when you mess with the Bull, you get the horns. It seemed catchphrase over, moves over, character over. If this was a little test of, we think this man's becoming more popular, to do a little test, I would say this successfully told you the results. Tekla and Sky Blue versus Alex Windsor and Persephone. I'd call this a decent surprise of a tag, because when they came out, I was like, oh, okay, this might be fine. There's something about the way that a match like this is placed on the Collision show normally indicates that there's not going to be a lot going on here. But I completely misread that. I felt like this was a really strong tag showing. Plenty of chops and oi shouts directed Sky Blue's way. Persephone once again strong and a real foil for Tekla's cheeky jump-in attempts. Windsor whipped right into the barricade in the end. Cheeky times into the ring and Julia Poison Mist stopped the CMLL Women's Champions Razor's Edge attempt. That's a lot of possessives in over one thing. Code Red from Sky Blue for the win. A win over a women's champion, mind you, as well. I thought Persephone looked great. Windsor felt like a star in there. Tekla's always awesome. And giving Sky Blue that moment as well, I feel like she was the only person that kind of needed an elevation to almost belong amongst the others. And they did it, so now all of them feel somewhat like, yeah, you had your purpose there as well. But you can spin off into 2 title matches as well, with Sky Blue beating Persephone and then Tekla and Windsor still continue with their stuff. So yeah, surprised me. I wasn't like super amped for it when the people were coming out. I always loved Tekla. But yeah, maybe it was just the mood I was in where I wasn't feeling it, and then because they're all super talented, they got me properly into it. Then the penultimate match, the AEW National Champion, Jack Perry versus El Cologne. No harm in letting the crowd arm wave to Tarzan Boy before the main event. A wee school trick to get the kids moving and having a tad of fun before you then ask for their attention in the next segment. A wee ring post 1-9 as Perry got to show why he's the champion. But El Cologne's been established as that computer copy of a lucha man he can just snap into something in an instant. How tranquilo of him. Pace picked up after the ad break. A lovely little altered made in Japan before both men got to show off their running backflips. El Cologne's one-footed line salt still so cool. Perry running backflip out the corner, set up a suplex and running knee for the win. An absolutely fine match that I'm pretty sure I'll forget ever happened in a few weeks. But I do appreciate watching 2 men do running backflips. So there's that. There's that. And the main event, Chris Jericho, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin versus Ricochet, Toa Leona and Bishop Khan of The Demand. The Hurt Syndicate's return match and right back to wrestling Khan and Leona. Here we go. Also, a good laugh at Jericho just hogging his merch as the big hurty men ran riot. It was just ringside being like, oh, here's my t-shirt, as Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin just launched lads about. He did do a big dive afterwards for the break lead in, so not like he didn't participate. If there's one thing about the Hurt Syndicate I really missed, it's Shelton Benjamin. Like, Jericho took the baddie beatings, Lashley got the hot tag with the power, but Benjamin's flash flow was some real suplexing loveliness. Jericho tagged in to try and finish off with the walls, but Leona was still active. I like Lashley making that same mistake, like focusing on the dickhead and forgetting about the big Leona. Khan stopped further beatings, there to set up an awesome Benjamin step up into the top rope and suplex down. A shame Lashley wasn't quite as smooth, maybe that's putting it politely. His spear on Leona was hit so well that Shivani ended up describing it as a knee chop. Now that I'm pretty certain he just, like, his leg went as he was trying to run to him, so then he tries to launch with the spear, but he's already at such a low angle, but Leona bumped for it like a professional. Even with his hurty friends, the Demand was still able to use their numbers game and distractions to get the better of Jericho. The walls dragged to the ropes, the ringside distraction to take away the big boys and let Ricochet swing at Jericho's Canadian penis. Rico Salt for the win, and the dickhead once again fulfilled his promise to beat Jericho every week. I like the consistency there. It would be nice if the Hurt Syndicate are immediately not Jericho's friend, so we don't get to see this exact match again. again. It seems that Hurt Syndicate and the Demand like working with each other. Hopefully that's my read of it, and it's not they're one of the few who like to work with them, but it feels like there's a good chemistry there. But I don't want to dip into the well too much. And obviously I've seen it so many times where Chris Jericho gets his friends and we just see that match again and again. It's a classic Chris Jericho feud where he loses the first match and then it keeps on going. But this time Chris Jericho is the babyface, so that pattern makes a bit more sense in that way. It made no sense at all when it was the inverse of Jericho was the heel. So what was the good guy going for here? He's already beaten him. But it's still the same pattern. Still the same pattern. It does feel like the Jericho stuff and that actually is getting more over again. The singing through his songs getting louder, the pops during his matches are getting louder. So it feels like for the moment it's working. But I've got my flags. I've got my little things here. Like the red flags and the alarm bells are present right now. Present there. I can see them even if nobody's waving them or ringing them. Like they are physically there. But anyway, yeah, that brought me to the end of the show. For me, Collision, there was no weak point on the card. I like having these little jobber matches on Collision as well. It feels like the perfect place to have like a character showcase. Dynamite, the slightly bigger show, because they are going to feature Roosh on Dynamite as well. So yeah, I thought it was a really solid Collision card. Dynamite had an all-timer main event. For me, that show really flew by. Just AEW just on a run right now. Like I'm really, really enjoying it. Obviously, last week I kind of gave my complaints, and I feel like some of those things are still obviously present, but it's nothing to take away from my enjoyment of the shows themselves. It feels like the bar of critique is so much higher, and I expect so much more because of what they're achieving at the moment. So all of my little minuses, they're never anything that would actually get me to stop watching or get genuinely annoyed at it or anything. Like even this Jericho stuff here, like for me, they're doing a decent job at the moment. I've just got my alarm bells, almost in a jokey fashion. He's like, it's Chris Jericho. Okay, here we go. But well, I'll wait and see. Anyway, that just brings me to the end of this week's recording, this week's show. Do tell what you think about this week's Collision and whatnot, the Darby Allin stuff with his title, and what you think the road's going to be for Double or Nothing. Are we on the right track of it's just going to be MJF Darby Allin, and I'm maybe thinking a little bit over the top? It just being like, no, they're using it to trick us into something else. It's like when Occam's razor. It's like, no, they're just doing a blatant thing. They've already told us MJF is going to win because he's going to be prepared for it. Like that level of stuff. Hit me up on the Discord or hit me up on Blue Sky. Do let me know. The links is in the description. So with that, I say thank you for listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. That goes for all of us here at Social Suplex as well. I'll be back this time next week to talk about Dynamite and Collision. After I've watched my Nottingham Forest play the first leg of their European match. Again, feels really weird to say. I've watched them in the second division for most of my life. So it's super weird that this is even a thing. So yes, exciting sports time in my local area. So anyway, with that, I bid you adieu. Ta-ra, duckies. Ta-ra.
When you buy LG, you get so much more than just an appliance. You get more done, more cost savings, more peace of mind, and more control. Because LG appliances are designed to do more. Like washers and dryers with AI tech to take out the guesswork, refrigerators that fit in tight spaces and keep food fresher longer, or ranges with precise induction cooking and easy cleanup built in, all with the style you want and reliability you can count on, so you can get more from your home every day. LG Appliances. So much more. Make life easier with LG. See the latest models and savings now at LG.com.
This episode sponsored by The Bomb Box. When someone you love is going through cancer, you want to do more than send flowers. You want to truly help. That's why there's The Bomb Box. Founded by 6-time cancer survivor Liz Bendit, The Bomb Box creates thoughtfully curated care packages filled with premium, practical tools designed specifically for surgery, chemo, and recovery. Every item is chosen based on insights from more than 500 patients and caregivers, because during treatment, the smallest comforts can make the biggest difference. Don't just send a gift, send real support. Visit thebombbox.com today and get free shipping on orders over $50. That's THEBALMBOX.com.